Mr. Harder, can we have roll call?
Mr. Loudermilk, Ms. Alsop,
Here.
Ms. Wager,
Here.
Mr. Thacker,
Here.
Ms. Thies,
Here.
Mr. Norris,
Here.
Mr. Thompson.
Okay, thank you. Got the page here. Okay, communication from elected officials, other officials, or agencies of the county. Anybody like to come and speak? Hearing none, report from committees. I don't think we have any report from committees tonight. That takes us right to old business. Under old business, we have additional appropriation ordinance 2025-51I, commissioners, legal expenses.
Good evening, Council. Mark Lincolnberry, Vigo County Commissioners. I'm here to answer any questions you might have on on the request that was tabled from last month for an additional $75,000 in legal fees. I think you all probably got the email that I sent a couple of weeks ago, kind of detailing where we are at. Just to update and for the record here, last year we spent $62,576.56 in legal fees. This year we've already spent $88,820.19, of which $40,376.67 has went to Bose McKinney for guidance and negotiations with Churchill Downs on the LDA. While this is a lot of money, their expertise in these types of negotiations has been invaluable and could mean millions more dollars to the foundation over the next decade. I don't expect, I think we're getting close to getting that done. I don't expect that we will need that total $75,000, but I think we'll need at least $50,000 of it. So that's why we're asking for 75, and if we don't use it, obviously it's there.
Now, I know that, and I had a conversation with you before the meeting, that when I talked to one of the other commissioners, they thought there's still an opportunity that maybe the casino may pay for the legal expenses?
Well, we'll certainly work on that. I think originally that was part of the deal. So definitely we'll work on that and check on that further.
Any other questions from council?
So essentially, this is to fund in case we're going to have any other future legal things throughout the year. This isn't specifically just towards
Well, yes,
that.
and we will, because
Okay.
we're
Yeah,
out.
'cause,
We've
we're just
we've
June.
already made a transfer from another fund, so yeah.
Okay, okay.
We also have additional legal expense on some animal control issues too.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, for those that don't know, animal control, I mean, we've had a goat issue that we've had to seek outside counsel, and I'm glad that we did, because it just keeps coming. There's a chicken issue, so. And yeah, it seems like these ordinances should be, well, we have people fighting them, and so yeah, those are additional costs too.
No bee issues, though, right?
No bee issues yet, but we'll seek your counsel on that, I guess, since you're the resident bee operator.
I'm in the county, so so far it's no issue, so. Vicki, did you have a question as well?
Has that LDA, has that been resolved and set up the way it's going to be?
Not yet. We're working on it, but we're very, very close. Yeah, we expect it to be done in the next week or two. We're negotiating back and forth with Churchill Downs. I will say that through these negotiations, we have gotten a concession that means, again, over the decade could mean $2 to $3 million. So I think it's important that we carry on until we get done here.
Is that a public meeting at all when you do those negotiations?
It's normally handled by the attorney. So if it's a private meeting, we would have to advertise it. Yes.
Is that between their attorney and our attorney?
Correct. Bose McKinney, Mr. Modisett, and their attorneys. Yes.
Is our attorney as good as their attorney?
I believe so. Bose McKinney, yes, I believe so. That's what they do. That's why we sought the outside counsel. And to be honest, we should have probably done this a long time ago. I mean, they deal with this all the time. And, I mean, we're looking at something here that has lasting effect well beyond our time here. So I think it's in our best interest to get every dollar that we can.
I think what was, and I know you weren't able to be here at the last meeting, but what was the frustrating thing that I heard from the council was, we learned more from the Tribune Star, what was going on with the LDA, than we did from our other elected officials. As a council, we were upset by that and left out. So I just wanted to convey that that's what was the, I think I speak for the whole council, that we were frustrated that there's a non-governmental agency that makes an appointment on this LDA, but the council, we don't have a say in the LDA.
Yeah, that we are trying to get an additional person on there, and the council would definitely be one that we'd have on our list. They are, at this point, adamantly opposed to adding any more members to the LDA. And I understand what you're saying, and
Sure.
I think we're trying our best. I apologize if that happened.
That was I think was the vibe I got from the last month ago.
Who's opposed to, I mean, they who?
Churchill Downs.
So if the commissioners have 3 appointments, I mean, 3 people, three, does that mean it has to be you 3, or can it be?
We could appoint ourselves. We are probably not going to. We will probably appoint someone else. The mayor's office has himself. He will, again, will probably not appoint himself, and he has 1 more. Yes. The Churchill Downs has 2, and the Chamber of Commerce has 1.
What about the school corporation? No go for them? I mean,
No,
no representative for them,
no.
but the chamber's on. How did they determine who those representatives are?
Well, and I hate to plead ignorance, but some of this was done
Before you?
prior to me, and I'm trying to catch myself up over the last few months, for sure.
And that's set in stone now?
It's not set in stone. We have requested, but they are coming back and saying, no, they will not add another person. There are 8 people on the.
I mean, will they change who those entities are? They could change that, couldn't they?
We could request it, but at this point, no, I don't believe so. I think that's.
Something that maybe would be beneficial too, and I do think, we do at times work well together.
I think so.
I think so. If, as you guys do look to the appointments on that maybe you get some feedback from us, or that we have a little bit of a role in maybe just working with you on those appointments. Because that, I think we try to be a team effort, especially on something like this.
Sure.
And so I think that's the idea of it, is if there are 3 representatives from, the county being gone through with the commissioner's office, getting feedback or maybe input on at least one of those from the council would be nice. I don't know if it was necessarily that we felt like we had to add another position, as it was just having some impact on it.
Yeah, but no, that's fine, and I think over the last few months, we've all worked together really well and communicated really well. So we are working to make it possible that these local government could apply for grants from this foundation. The way that works is that there will be 3% of gross profits from the casino will go back into this foundation. Originally, it was set up just for, different type of community things. But we believe that, especially the county, that we need some more of that funding. So that's what we're trying to work on, is to let them allow us to, whether it's the county or the city, apply for these funds too.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Thank you for addressing that.
Thank you.
Okay, new business, resolution and ordinances other than appropriation. Resolution 2024-7, tax abatement for personal property, Zinc Power, Terre Haute LLC, on page 27 of our packet. How you doing?
Good evening, everyone. Mr. President, members of the council, Eddie Felling with Linden Felling Law Office, here representing Zinc Power. This will be the third time now I've presented the same information to you, but I'll try and hit some of the highlights, and if there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer. Again, Zinc Power's planning on opening a zinc galvanizing plant just north of the city, right next to the Great Dane facility. They're due to have a plat approved, hopefully tomorrow at the Area Plan Commission, as they're ready to get building as soon as possible. The overall investment, again, is $47.2 million in both real and personal property, along with annual salaries and benefits of $6 million a year. That'd be 90 new jobs coming into the community. And in that construction process, that's going to take approximately a year and a half. We're going to have what we estimate to be 100 construction jobs that are brought here locally. This is a very unique process, one that I think will not only serve our local industry, but can serve outside industry as well. And again, we would ask that you confirm the abatement that's in front of you. Last month, what we did was we designated the economic revitalization area. This month, we're actually confirming the abatement. So the final vote will come next week at your next meeting, which would approve the tax abatement for them moving forward. With that, again, I'd be happy to answer any questions you all may have.
Any questions for Mr. Fallon? When the individuals here from Zinc Power, and they did share with me a name, and I didn't write it down, of the general contractor that they've used to build their other three plants. I believe he was out of Illinois.
White Construction, yes. And we are in the bidding.
White here and
No,
It's a different
I apologize. Winter.
yeah,
It's
okay.
Winter.
Okay, I thought it was a white. Okay, Winter.
Yes.
Okay.
Scott Winter is the owner of that company. I've been in contact with him. They are in the process of putting the bids out. They have not been closed at this point. They obviously would appreciate anyone local that has any interest in bidding on the project, and those are going out as we speak.
Okay. So that is on the resolution 2024-7 on the personal property. Like I said, is there any other questions for? Then we have the 2024-08, which is the real property. And you did, if you would, we had a little variation in the abatement from, so
Correct.
the real and the personal are different. They're not on the same schedule, correct?
Yes, and that's just an odd way that the schedules work. The way they're calculated, honestly, one of them goes what you would think would happen in a 10-year, 100, 8, 90, 80, 70, and
Yeah,
so
that's on the
forth.
personal property.
The other jumps, and again, that's based on the state calculator. It's still what we call a traditional 10-year abatement, but the percentages vary to some degree. So instead of just 10% each year, it goes 10%, then maybe 15 to 10. And you obviously you have the schedule in front of you.
Yeah, so it's on our page 40 and page 54 if anybody else wants to look at those. So I just remember that from last month that you said that there was a variation.
Yes, and that obviously that was amended from the original proposal based
Yes.
upon feedback from the council.
Any other questions for Mr. Felling? Okay, thank you.
If you need help with your animals, I'm your guy.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
we dealt with bees and pigs and chickens at the city, and I'll tell you, there was more public input from those issues than some of the things that you might expect to get more input from. So, good luck.
Thank you. Okay, now if we would go to resolution for reallocation existing appropriation 2024-10 on page 55, local public health services. Here. There's Joni.
Joni Wise, Vigo County Health Department Administrator.
Rich Moore, Manager, Griffin Bike Park.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about this, what you guys want to do with the reallocation.
So one of the things that we try to do is enhance departments that are within the county with HFI funds to help with the core services. And Adam and Rich and I had talked about a program down at Griffin Bike Park, which he's going to tell you more about, out of our 2025 funding. One of the things that I've worked on in the last month is what I have identified as our, what's going to be available that's not going to be used in 2024. And that's where we would like the reallocation of funds considered for the bike program, because it is written into the 2025 budget, but now the 2025 one, it'll be lower if this goes through tonight.
So part of the programs we're gonna do, we're partnering with the 4-H. We've already been to their office and talked to them. They've got many ideas, as from kids programs all the way through adult programs. Myself, I've got some youth programming in mind, life skills, bike rentals for kids that can't afford to come out with a nice bike. It'll be a free rental for those kids. It won't be a rental, to speak. I really want to expand my Trips for Kids program. We've had the Trips for Kids program for nearly 9 years now, and it started out as underserved youth, and I figured out real quick that it needs to be all the youth from Vigo County. If a group is out there, Rives Hall, the Boys and Girls Club, they need to be able to come to the bike park and ride for free. We have the bikes, we have the know-how. I just need to get a couple helpers to help me with it once in a while and keep our bikes up. The kids come out and they're rough on bikes. They tear some stuff up pretty quick. We lose probably 2 or 3 bikes every time we do a Trip for Kids ride. It's, Travis is smiling, he knows. The Griffin Bike Park team, I was telling Vicki, we've got over 30 kids this year. Want to expand that and make sponsorships for these kids that can't afford it. It's $150 a year right now. We go from May into September. I want to get kids in that maybe can't afford that $150. You know, get them a bike to ride and teach them how to ride and teach them how to have fun. It's not a racing team. It's a team that is just to ride and have a good time. Let me get my notes back up. Got a new iPad. In the future, we'll get to that in a second. Adult programming, you know, you guys know I had a heart attack 2 years ago. I want to do some heart-healthy stuff out there, clean eating, some exercise programs, what I do to stay in shape, how I do it at 50, 58, 59 years old. Winter programming coming up right now. In October, everything pretty much slows down and stops and lets me catch up on my paperwork. But we need to be doing stuff out there with the new building and whatnot.
Right.
This will help a lot. In the future, way down the road, I would love to see school buses come in with kids and have an after-school program that we could watch those kids till 6 or so. And in the summertime too, have them come out during the day. It's gonna take some training and some coordination with Joni. That's one of my long-term goals. That's just a few of my ideas.
And any more on the marketing aspect that we talked about before, with they said that you're recognized globally with your beard there. I didn't know.
Well,
if
it is.
there any.
It is. Heather, our natural resources programmer's got a marketing degree, and she's really picking up and getting us in with, I forgot the name of the place. They were at the Larry Bird thing with the programs and whatnot. We just did a killer photo shoot with the CVB, and they didn't want just the lake jump this time. They wanted the real stuff at the park. So it's, yeah, marketing's picking up, keeping us busy. It's going well.
Very good. Any other questions?
Anybody want to go for a bike ride? Thank you.
BYD. Being here on me. Okay, thank you. Now we're looking at the resolution for reallocation existing appropriation 2024-11 reassessment. I believe that is on page 56 and with Kevin.
Council President. What this is, and I guess I have to throw in a little bit of backstory. The county and Harrison both have a pretty large task when it comes to doing reassessment and doing permits. I've got some numbers here, and I apologize that I didn't get a copy for each one of you, but I'm gonna throw out some real quick. For just reassessment, what we have to do by statute, Harrison has to look at 6,415 parcels per year. The county has to look at 8,542 parcels per year. And when I say look at, those are parcels, we have to have someone standing on that property. So someone has to leave our office, drive out to that property, look at it, make sure all the data is correct. If there's anything new, they have to pick it up with measuring it, grading it, classifying it, things like that. In conjunction with that, we also have to do permit verifications. We have approximately 832 on a 5-year average permits for Harrison Township, 801 for the county. That gives you a combined total of 4,897, because each one of those permits, on average, you're gonna visit it 3 times. When the permit's first taken out, we have to go out there and look and see if they broke ground. We wait a period of time, we go out there and we check and see how far they are with it. If it's not completed, we have to go out a 3rd time. Now, there are some will go 4 or 5 times, some go over a year's period. But on average, we're gonna go out there 3 times, so 4,897 times. These are all times that we have to go out of the office. For the county side, what makes it so difficult for us is we're covering 400 square miles. So we don't pull into a neighborhood and look at 300 houses within 2 or 3 hours. It may take us a day to look at 150 parcels, 2 days, 3 days, depending on if it's on one side of the county or the other. It's just because we have such a large area to cover. Because of all this, we've always been behind on permits. We struggle to get the reassessment done. By statute, we don't have a choice. That has to be done. So we struggle on the permit side. Everything that we don't pick up costs the county. I was to the point where I was gonna have to ask for another person. And with staffing, we know what the expense goes there. I've got 2 field people now. So I approached Harrison Township, and their chief deputy and the Harrison Township assessor are both here to collaborate what I'm saying. And we decided that we were gonna work together on, they were short 1 employee, so they were in the hiring process. We made a discussion, and they agreed that they would hire someone that their job would strictly be permits. They're gonna do the permits for the county and for Harrison. If they get that caught up, then their next position will be they'll assist Harrison with their reassessment. If they get that caught up, then they'll assist us with our reassessment. So basically, we've got an employee we're sharing. It's Harrison's employee, but they're sharing them with us. That person needs a vehicle. Harrison currently has 1 vehicle, it's a truck. They can speak to this fact, but I know from talking with them, it's broke down several times over the last couple months. I think they've put a few $1,000s in it to get it repaired and back on the road. But they still have 6,415 parcels they gotta look at for reassessment. We have 1 vehicle, county vehicle. It's not enough, but we do have 1. We need another one just for this person. When it's not being used by this person, my other officer will use it for reassessment. So that's what I'm here to ask for. I know that's the long version, but just to give you a background. I do have a purchase agreement. I'm putting on here that I may spend up to $3,400. My actual purchase agreement is for $32,650.25. That's with Toyota. It's for a RAV4. It's brand new, so we won't have any maintenance on the vehicle. I don't need an additional appropriation. I have the funds in reassessment. I just got to move a little bit around. So I just want permission from the council to buy this vehicle.
Any questions? Is there, and I don't know if this is appropriate or not, is there a need for an MOU? Because I'm glad that you both are working together on this, but what happens if one of you or both of you are not in office, and there was a past practice, but of sharing, is there any kind of a need of an MOU?
It's not any, I guess that would be up to legal. At this point, it's just a handshake
Yeah, I
agreement
get
that
that, and
they're
that's
sharing
fine
this
that you're
person
both
with me.
here and you're both agreeing to it, but I just didn't know if we enter into something that,
No, I think that would make sense for, it is a
Yeah, just that way you have it right. That way we had it, what the past practice was.
Yeah, and given the, distinction between Harrison Township and the assessor's office, I think it makes sense that, they're gonna both, is the salary that way too, or is this?
No,
yours-
it is strictly a
salary
Harrison
so-
Township employee.
Okay,
Okay.
then, so yeah, this is just a support of that employee with a vehicle that he's got money
Yeah.
for in reassessment, so yeah.
And basically, the vehicle is just another county vehicle.
Yeah.
But I'm purchasing it for this person to use.
Yeah.
But I think it, yeah, to memorialize that.
Yeah,
we-
I
we
just
can-
think if we had an MOU, that way we wouldn't have any questions. Somebody would say, well, this is the way it's always been, but why? And that way you just have some background for
Is
it.
that something Michael can
Yeah,
work with?
no, I can help with that.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Any other
Thank you.
questions? Kevin? Thank you. I appreciate you working together, both the groups. Okay. Ordinance relating to appropriation, first reading. Additional appropriation ordinance 2024-53. And so I believe this is for Lost Creek Fire Protection, Special Cume Fire Capital. Is there anybody here from Lost Creek?
Yep, there.
Yeah, very good. This is our page 57 on ours.
Mr. President, members of the council.
Yes.
John Hendrick, Cityville Fire Department Deputy Chief. I'm here with Jason Parker, one of our Fire District Board members. Lost Creek Fire District is asking for additional appropriations from our cumulative fire fund to facilitate installation of a station generator for our fire station. Currently, the station was built in '96 without a generator backup, and we have a portable generator that we roll around outside, obviously plug it into the station, but it only powers certain things. So we want to get a standby generator in there that'll automatically power up the building upon need. Right now, it's kind of difficult because if we lose power, we have to open our doors by hand, which means added response time. So yeah.
I asked this question, one of the other council members. I'm wondering, myself, I have solar and battery backup. I wonder if there is any grants available that we could reach out for fire protection for this and have, not only have the generator, but have for solar backup with batteries. It can't take large loads, but it can help with communications. It can help with, and it have a quicker response than a generator even.
Yep.
So that's just something I know Vicky's been involved with grant writings. It's something we need to look into. But yeah, well, thank you for your explanation. Any other questions for Lost Creek? Yeah.
Just available to businesses, but
Governmental.
now governments can apply for tax credits for energy-saving devices like solar.
I think that's because we definitely don't want you to be without, and that's usually whenever you need it is when.
Right.
When you don't.
when
Well,
there's-
and that's kind of what we've been looking at. I mean, obviously, in Sealyville and the fire departments in the last probably 4 years, we've came kind of leaps and bounds with doing some pretty amazing things. We've got paid staff at the firehouse now, which is great. And the town of Sealyville just recently purchased a storm siren, which we installed on top of the firehouse, especially after the tornadoes that went through Sullivan. I think that kind of, gave us all understanding that, those things hit close to home, so.
And a lot of times the application of these facilities, if they have a south-facing structure, then that's not going to be like you don't have to take up any more real estate. You can
Right.
put it on existing buildings, so.
But yeah, we definitely know that, if something, if we have a natural disaster in Cedarville, we know that, our building's gonna end up being, essentially a place of refuge for a lot
Yeah.
of people. And, we just wanna make sure that we're prepared for that. Cause yeah, it gets a little dicey when the power goes out.
Well, thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay, additional appropriation 2024-54, local health maintenance, peer recovery coach, and social health liaison. think we have page 58, 59, and 60, 61, which would be on these.
Gives me the opportunity to return the public comment sign-in sheet that I took with me. Joni Wise, Vigo County Health Department.
Molly Isles, Vigo County Health Department. Chelsea Willis, Director of Nursing at the Vigo County Health Department Clinic.
All right, prior to Health First Indiana funds, we had local health maintenance in the trust. Those accounts were no more as of July 1 of last year, and the state keeps saying, you know, get them, spend them down, spend them down. We asked all summer and all fall last year on how they wanted that done, and they finally gave us guidance in January. So one of the things that we are mandated to have out of HFI is a school health liaison. And when the state first came out with what the core services and what they wanted done, I had reached out to the school corporation's health curriculum coordinator and their director of nursing, and I said, let's get together and talk about this. When the health curriculum coordinator said, no, we're not going to do it. So then we were kind of in the pickle that it's a shall and not, you know, they like us to, and you got the school corp saying don't want it. So Chelsea worked with the director of nursing, and we think we found a way around it to add our school health liaison, and I'll have her tell you the ideas that where we can circumvent with a no and make it a yes.
So the school corporation already has partners that do the health education piece, but they don't have people to help with immunization compliance, with in-school support, especially with CHIRP. I had the experience of sitting with them and looking at their CHIRP compared to what we can see, which is the national immunization, not national, the Indiana State database for immunizations. Ours is a whole lot more detailed than what they can see. They have kids that have issues with hygiene, girls that don't know how to use feminine products, and a lot of the poverty areas have lice issues, which are all areas that we can bring a school liaison in to help get, that will bring together all the areas along with working with the partners they already have to help as a whole and close the whole thing. So.
Very good.
Okay, as you guys know, since January, we've been in the Vigo County Jail, teaching classes, doing peer recovery work, and we've come to find that it's not enough to have 2 people in there. We really need another one, and so we're asking for another peer recovery coach.
And it's pretty much the same information that you heard last Tuesday, but it's to enhance that and help deal with the overcrowding in the jail.
So hopefully with this, because, you know, not only with teaching the classes and being a support inside the jail, but we're wanting to follow them as well. And there's other services that are going to be doing that, but we'll just be an extra, you know, branch on that tree for them to kind of fall back on and a support for them to have.
And that will come out of the HFI as well?
It's gonna come out of local health maintenance, both positions we're talking about right now, because currently in carryover funds, we have that $85,844.16.
Okay.
I've already submitted to the State Department of Health, the amended budget encompassing these 2 positions, and they have already approved it.
Okay.
Just has to, go in front of you for an appropriation if you should choose to do so.
Okay. So that was on page 59. Okay. And then this next one, did she already speak to it, the 2024-54A? That's the add school health liaison
yeah.
person, okay. And then, so that's the 3
That's
things
it.
that we had.
Yep.
I'm just trying to keep track of all of them, so. Any questions for Joni or the individuals with her?
Betty, real quick.
Yes.
Can you speak to the outcomes from peer recovery and what you're seeing in jail?
Kinda. So we don't have any, you know, we have participants who have graduated from MRT and they graduated from relapse prevention, and we have a handful who have been released who are doing phenomenal. I know one who has been rearrested, but that's the only one. The ones that we are working with are
taking our help with open arms, like they're excited about it. You know, a lot of these individuals have grew up in families where all they knew were drinking and drugs. And so, you know, leaving the jail, they were scared to go home. And we've been able to work with them and find other routes to their, you know, either housing or, so I hope that answered your questions. We're pretty early still. I mean, we're 6 months in. And so everything that we've done so far has been, I would have to say, successful. Like the program has been, like they've loved it. And some of these people, some of the individuals who have been in these classes, they've never completed anything until now. And it's been pretty cool.
Would you like Molly to punch you out numbers of the information, the data she's been collecting?
That'd be
Okay?
awesome.
I can
Very
do that.
good.
No problem. Yep.
Any other questions?
I just wanted to, and I guess this goes for all the things you've presented, whether it be, you know, the peer coaches in the jail, the health liaison, working with Rich in the bike park, how you've been willing to like really pull a team effort within the health department. And we know it's the mental health crisis. We've got, you know, children in need and just in general health of our community. So I appreciate that, you know, we're looking outside of our departments in a way to pull everyone together. So I just wanted to thank you for that and what you're doing.
Thank you for your compliment and kind words. And, you know, one of the things that we've been good about in Vigo County is the fact that this is to better the health of our community, not just enhance the health department, because I've said this before, we're a super lucky health department that we've had supportive councils that have made us function optimally. So that's where we have to look outside the box and think, what other things can we do from our children to our elderly to keep them, you know, having more days that are better than not?
I would agree with that. That's very well said.
You know, just let me say, Joni, would you just speak for a minute for the folks who are here at the meeting about Judge Magnus Stinson's comments about the work that you have done to help with the crowding at the jail, and the fact that many people who are now incarcerated are really not criminals, but they are traumatized, and we're not getting them the mental health treatment that they need. Would you address that?
Absolutely. You know, there are all the core services that we're supposed to deliver, and almost every one of them we do. One of the core services is looking at trauma and injury. When I met with two of the employees from the State Department of Health last Thursday, and we relayed to them what had happened at the Huerta hearing, they said, you know, when you first started submitting your budget with the justifications, they were like, trying to squint their eyes to see where this fits into trauma. And it is trauma. It is part of the state's trauma and injury plan, and it addresses addictions and mental health. And one of the things that we've tried to do are the programs from children to your incarcerated, to those within the judicial system, the families, and trying to break that addiction. And I think that she was pleased with the fact that we weren't just trying to work with individuals once they were incarcerated, that we were trying to be the guardrail at the top of the hill versus, you know, always paying for the ambulances at the bottom. And that guardrail is working with our children. And that's through Judge Reddy's court, Chances for Youth, Dr. Megan Kirk, who does the mental health for the school corporation, but trying to reach those kids at the younger age so that they're not in crisis mode once they're hit adulthood.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Number 5 item, additional appropriation 2024-55 courts, supplemental to work to release indigent.
Good evening, Sarah Mulligan, Circuit Court.
Bill Watson, Director of Court Services.
61, sorry.
We're here together today to ask for an additional appropriation of $112,000 as a supplement to the work release program. And we use this funding we fund jail inmates in the community corrections program. They go to work release or home detention. So from jail to the work release and home detention. And use the funds to pay for indigent home detention or work release for a period of time until they become employed. It's been a successful program. And just to give the council just a little bit of history, we've done this several years. Back in 2021, we spent $85,770. And then in 2022, we spent 92,350. In 2023, we used 109,910. So far this year, we have spent 56,350. So we're asking for an additional appropriation for the rest of the year. I don't know if Mr. Watson wants to tell you anything.
I think, as you've seen, the numbers have gradually increased on the expenses, but that has came as the population for the residential center has continued to grow. As many of you know, you've had discussions with me about that. The capacity of that center is 130 beds. That's 110 males and 20 females, and on a daily basis, it's pretty much sitting full now and has been for several months. And that population, actually, the last I knew, we still had a waiting list of females in the jail waiting to come because that 20-bed dorm is full pretty much all the time. I'm not sure how many we have. There was, the last count I knew, we had 8 to 10 females that were waiting to come over that were just sitting in jail because they'd been sentenced to the residential program, couldn't get there yet. So that's the increase. It's just the volume. People are moving through the court system faster, I believe. They're getting sentenced quicker, and they're moving to our facility faster. That's why the increase.
And this year, we were appropriate on January 1st, 2024, $45,000. So we've gone through it pretty quickly.
Okay.
Entertain any questions by council?
Anybody?
I would just say that when we started this several years ago, it seemed to be fruitful right away, and if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Watson, other counties wanted to kind of mirror what we were doing because the results we were having initially, and they were really surprised that we had such a council that was on the forefront of doing things like this.
That's correct, Councilman Loudermilk. There was been several still today contact me wanting to know how our council's done this, how are they funding it, and you know, they're just amazed that you are doing it. And it was one of the things that when we had a recent audit from the University of Cincinnati, the Department of Corrections had our programs audited, and that was one of the things they talked about. They said it was very rare to see fiscal bodies that were investing like that in the correctional system at the local level. So
We have a good front man.
That's for sure.
right here somewhere.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, additional appropriation 2024-56, the ARPA grant. Mark, are you going to address this, or are you bringing people up, or how you doing? Okay. Okay, great. 62.
Brian Gilbert, Assistant Superintendent of Vital County Parks. We're requesting an appropriation from ARPA funds to allow us to expand on our rental capabilities at Fowler, Hawthorne, and Prairie Creek Parks. The funds would allow us to purchase 2 new cabins and 1 covered wagon for rentals. We did a lot of research into it, and return on the investment looks real well. Hoping that it'll help us with some of our losses during the COVID period. And we got a cabin there at Fowler right now, and it's renting out constantly during the summer. So we're just hoping to recoup on some funds.
No, refresh my memory on it. I know the Conestoga wagon has air conditioning, right?
Yep, I got pictures you guys want.
Okay, and yeah, that'd be great. And then where are the other ones going to, what's the proposed locations for the other ones?
And one's at Prairie Creek Park, back towards the back lake, and the other will be at Hawthorne Park, just right next to electric campsites.
Okay, and then the wagon would be at Fowler.
Fowler Park, yeah.
Okay. Any other questions for the Assistant Superintendent?
Go ahead.
Okay. He's got some pictures here.
Those are so
You
neat.
can start them down there. I've seen them. Oh, I didn't realize that. I didn't know the pictures were in there. I knew that.
Pass those out in the audience so they can see
17,
them.
Thank you, Karen. I just went to the dollar amounts. I
Don't want to sign up for them.
What do the rental fees look like for the cabins, and what's the proposed rental fee for the wagon?
So, right now, he's still researching to try to get close to, places similar to our campgrounds. So he's researching that right now. I'm not sure exactly what he's came up with.
Okay. Thank you.
He talked about that a little bit, and that they thought they might even have to raise the rent on the one at Fowler. It's booked all the time, and it doesn't have air conditioning in it, right?
No, it's
And
just,
it's really more of a primitive campsite, but I thought he said it was $50 a night. Is that correct? And then that they were going to have to probably raise that. And they did a number projection on that, but I don't see it here with it, what they, Travis, were you in there when we talked about the rental of these? Okay. ARPA, we talked about it at the ARPA meeting.
Yeah, I don't remember what he
But,
said, though.
So these are, when you first brought up wagons and I started reading about it, I was thinking like, you know, for parties and but these are like residential, like sleep-in, like glamping. That's
Yeah,
what
yeah.
my kids like to use the word
Yeah.
glamping a lot, so they look really neat.
Yeah, it seemed like people are kind of going that direction a lot towards an actual cabin rental. That cabin that we have is done real well.
And so right now, we just have one that we rent out like this, and then the rest of it's just campground type stuff. It's really neat. I like it, it's creative.
Any other questions? Brian likes questions.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Get back to the agenda here. The next one we have is additional appropriation 2024-57 ARPA grant fund pool renovations. On page 63 is the dollar amount that we're talking about.
Good evening, once again, Mark Clinkenbeard, Vigo County Commissioner. Just hitting off what Brian said there about that. I'm a big camper, and you know, talked to Adam about how successful that one had been down there, and he says we'll have to raise probably the fees because it's a big thing. Camping has become, I mean, like a lot of people do it, and we thought, well, as opposed to just having another one in Fowler Park, it'd be nice to hit the other parks. So that's kind of the idea of having one in each park and make them more attractive. Regarding the pool renovation, Vigo County Commissioners are requesting $50,000 in ARPA funds for our local Y. This money will be used for much-needed pool repairs. We have Sam Albrecht from the Y here to provide some more information on the project, as well as the rest of the funding and the services that they provide.
Hi, good evening. As he said, my name's Sam Albrecht. I'm the new branch director here at the Terre Haute YMCA. I've got with me Nicole Fry. And go ahead.
I'm Nicole. Sam has replaced my position. I started with this and he's finishing it, so I'm just here for support.
Okay.
Curtis DeBon, Terre Haute City Council, and I'm also a member of the YMCA Advisory Council. I'm here today to show my support for this.
Thank you.
So as Mark mentioned, we have some pool repairs that are needed. The primary repair that we need is our Dectron unit, which is an air handling unit. And we had passed out some fact sheets here for you to take a peek at as well. But the Dectron unit handles all of the air conditioning, humidity control, and also heats the pool water. The unit itself is outlived its lifespan, and we've estimated it's going to be close to $300,000 to replace that unit. We're at a point where we need to replace that to be able to function as a pool. As you guys know, there's some history with the pool there at the YMCA, but we want to make sure that we're able to continuously provide good programs through the YMCA through our pool. I'm not going to read all of these details to you, but hit some of the highlights. One of the things that caught our attention today was we have about 3,200 total members, but over 1,900 of those are county residents outside of the city limits. So this is not just a Terre Haute City YMCA. This is a Y that serves the entire community and surrounding counties as well. We're looking to expand those services. Just a little background, our pool shut down in 2018 and reopened in 2020. And then with COVID, of course, we, like everyone else, took a large hit. But then we've had several shutdowns since then, primarily due to this Dectron unit. What that means is that we're not able to provide consistent services such as swim lessons. And for me, swim lessons is one of the biggest benefits that we bring to the community to keep kids safe around water. And without being able to schedule those lessons consistently, we lose kiddos to those programs. So then we're not able to teach them to stay safe around water. So we want to make sure that we're able to consistently grow that program. We have members that will use our pool for lap swim, for family swim, for aqua fitness classes, and adult open swim. Yesterday, we had over 80 day camp kids in our pool. Not all at once, thankfully. Chances and Service for Youth were there today with their day camp. 14th and Chestnut's coming to use our pool, and we had a group of Sea Scouts come in the other night and do their swim testing. So we reach a lot of different parts of our community. We've also set up a lot of potential partners for this already. 300,000 is a large number to get to, so we've reached out to the City of Terre Haute, of course. We've worked closely with the mayor. County commissioners are helping us with this request. The Vigo County Health Department. Y Makes Waves is a local nonprofit group made up primarily of Y members and swimmers who want to support our pool, and they are doing some fundraising. United Way is also talking to us about a grant for providing some additional funds. So we're hopeful you'll be able to approve some additional funds to help us repair this. Is there anything you'd like to add? Curtis?
I just want to reemphasize, I guess, how important I think this is personally, and as an elected official in the city. I think this is something that is needed for the residents of Terre Haute and for those who are outside of city limits in the county. As the number was read to you, there are quite a few residents outside of the limits that utilize this pool as well. It has needed help for quite a while, and I think with the funding that the Y is reaching out to receive, hopefully that will put it to rest, and we won't have to worry about future issues with the pool. That would be my hope. I do know that I'm of the understanding that the city is currently has applied for a grant to put toward the YMCA, the building itself and the pool included within. I do not yet know if any ARPA funding will be requested from the city at this time yet, though I know that there is no ARPA request on our next agenda or the one after that. But I certainly see that being a possibility as well.
Mr. Devon, let me ask you,
Yes.
how is the repair of the rest of the building?
Are you referring to the grant that I mentioned and what it
No,
would go
just
to?
just the building. How is how solid is it?
I think Nicole might be better to answer that.
Okay.
No, I think that I've been with the Y for a long, long time. I started in Clay. I moved to Vigo County about 2 years ago. And the building itself, we've got a great relationship with the city. I mean, it could use some love, but they take good care of us as far as upkeeping it. All of the HVAC units decide to work sometimes, and sometimes they're kind of angry at us, but they're good at helping us with those repairs. It could use some love and some remodeling, but we really need this Dectron unit to function well. We've made lots of strides over the last 2 years, and I think that this is the best position that we've been in since 2018 or before. And so this breath of life, I think, is really going to show our members that we're here and we're here to stay, and we hear you and we're real. So it's just one piece of a bigger thing for the YMCA.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions from council?
Will this mainly take care of what's needed as far as pool functionality then? Like, do you foresee any future issues are coming up?
Absolutely. The grants, as well as the YMCA, is looking at plans and strategic planning for long-term. So to address your point, there's bigger plans in the works. This is an immediate repair to keep us going until those plans can come to fruition, potentially years down the road. This would be the main thing that is giving us trouble at the pool. Yes, the pump room is in good shape. There's been repairs made there. Things are functioning really pretty well other than this unit. It is the one huge thorn in our side that is consistently leading to us shutting the pool down.
And is this, I know the Y's used for a variety of things. I mean, I mainly over the years think of like children and families and the camps, but would you say the pool is one of the big draws for membership?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, that's, every Y around the country that has a pool, that is a huge draw for them. That is an attraction for members, but it does also attract folks for programs like the swim lessons and these other additional programs. To your point about kids, of course, kids love being in the pool, but I think our pool right now is used more often by folks probably my age and older for various fitness classes. and-
Aerobics
Yep,
and-
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, we got a Zumba class going on in about 5 minutes. Everybody wants to meet over there. We can go jump in the pool and do some aqua Zumba.
So this will get you closer to it. I mean, I know you mentioned a lot of other ones, so is this gonna put you guys over the top to be able to do the unit? Because we'd hate to give the money and then you still not be able to do it, you know?
Of course. Yes, so by our calculation, if everybody that we've talked to agrees, and no, I shouldn't say that, everybody that we've talked to at length and have some verbal commitments from, that would put us to about 285,000 out of the close to 300. And we might be able to find other cost savings in the installation in which unit we're gonna choose. We have not yet begun the actual bidding process for it because we wanna ensure that we've got funding available before we commit.
Okay, thank you. All right. If no other questions, we appreciate you coming in.
Thank you.
Additional appropriations, 2024-58, ARPA Grant Fund, Sheriff's Department Insurance Funds, the titling. It's on our page 64 is the financial.
Good evening, council, once again. I feel like I should say my name is Richard Shagley. I'm not here to even enjoy that joke, but anyway. Let me see where I'm at here. Okay. The county commissioners are requesting $350,000 from ARPA funds. This will be used as seed money for the Vigo County Sheriff's Department Deputies Future Retiree Health Insurance Fund. Chief of Operations Derek Fell is here to provide more information on the proposed program.
Good evening, Derek Fell, Chief Operations, Vigo County Sheriff's Office. So I won't take up a bunch of your time. I think we've spoke to pretty much every single council member here about this request. We actually requested this for our budget cycle last year for 2024, but it's our understanding that the council, at least some council members, majority council, wanted to kind of delay or push it off to get some actuary numbers through the auditor's office. So that's been a 6 or 7 month long process. Just to kind of summarize, we're looking for retiree insurance for our merit deputies. They would be eligible at the age of 52 if they've got 20 years of service, and then that would carry on until they reach the age of 65, at which point they'd have to go on Medicare. So that's what we're looking at. I would just point out that the numbers that are there, so to speak, are based on predictions. You cannot say exactly how many people are going to retire at any given point in time, but we have forecasted for the next 20 or 25 years, if not longer, how many deputies at max could ever be eligible, again, based on their age and their years of service. Most years, you're probably looking at 5 to 9, maybe 10 at most. There are a couple years, I think maybe it reaches 11 or 12 or 13, but that's rare, and that's if every single person left at 52 and, again, stayed until they're 65, so.
Questions for Sir Phil?
You have that information? From the actuary? That'd be more geared towards the auditor's office. They're the ones that work with the actuary services. We the sheriff's office, did not.
No, because we just got this. I think that we can give you these numbers that we got, but to sit here, I think it needs to be a sit-down discussion with a couple council members at a time so that you understand what we're explaining to you that came from the actuary. So we do have those, Aaron. I'm willing to sit down with a couple, 3 at a time. Me and Jimmy are, along with them. I think that trying to explain it in the middle of a council meeting might be a little confusing to some, but we do have those numbers. We can send it to you.
Yeah,
And
I
then,
think it's,
but I think it'd be best that we had it in like a couple members at a time. You get the full understanding of what the numbers are.
Okay.
Okay, it's not that we're not trying to be transparent. I just think that it's for you guys to understand first before and then we put it out there so that you understand what you're truly looking at for the actuary. And we do, and Derek is right. What it looks like is the most you will have is probably 9 or 10 at a time. And what they did is they did the actuary based on cost. And then we just kind of did an estimate based on the seed money, and then maybe what you would want to put towards it every year. And I threw out 200,000, and that's still gonna put you probably over what you would even need a budget year. But we do have all of that for you. I just think, to sit down and, so that they can actually explain to you what they want, what the whole terms were was the 52. And remember, this is the seed money and appropriation. The ordinance, correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, would actually come from the commissioners to state that this is something they would want to do and offer to the deputies, to do it. But I think that they were wanting to see if you were gonna
Fund the seed.
maybe fund the seed money to begin with before that was looking at doing that. But we do have those because the council members did ask for that, and that's why we've been working on it. So it'd be nice if we could set something up. It won't take long, but I think just so that you can see what we're looking at, if that's okay.
Chief Feld, do you think this would attract more folks to apply to be a deputy?
I think at times, yes. You know, if you're 23 years old, like me, and I'm sure most police officers got in the line of work, you're probably not too much focused on retirement. You're more wanting to do the job. Maybe more focused on how much money is in your paycheck every week. But as an example, we've hired, you know, more older individuals here in recent years. You know, different age groups are applying. So I think there would be a segment of the population or the segment of people who apply that definitely it would help attract certain candidates that are looking for the full package, so to speak, all the benefits that, you know, an agency has to offer. But to sit here and say that it would attract each and every person who applies, no. Some people wouldn't.
More in the line of retention, would you not say?
Without a doubt, sure.
I think too, you know, for a lot of us who've been following hiring trends and, you know, shortages, and I know both of our, you know, members that are involved with Terre Haute Police have seen it too. It's just harder and harder to get people to apply. So whether it be retention or at the other end of it, as people are working, sometimes people staying on for the mere fact of having insurance when it might be
$25.
looking at, you know, different options and so on for them with retirement. You know, it's important too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, when this came in front of the little subcommittee for the ARPA, it was, you know, we've been talking about this for a year, as just like you said, and I've been one that saying that we have to, it's a benefit that we try to do. And I look at in salaries, I look at our total wage package. So this would be part of a total compensation package for them as would for any employee.
Absolutely.
Any other questions? Okay.
So Cheryl, should people just reach out to you directly or? Okay. Yeah, and so I guess, you know, for council members, just reach out to Cheryl and she'll try to arrange that. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Thank you.
The next 10 pages are, I think, a group here that it's additional appropriations, 2024-59, and it's for each of the different fire departments. And so are you going to lump these all in together?
Well,
and
that's
talk
what I
about
was hoping.
this?
That way you don't get
Yeah.
to see me 9 more
So-
times, or 8 more times, I guess.
Let me just read all the different
That'd be great.
appropriation numbers, and then, so these are in sequential order on pages, starting on page 65, but it's 2024-59, 2024-60, 2024-61, 2024-62, 2024-63, 2024-64, 2024-65, 2024-66, 2024-67, and those are from page 64 to page 73 for the fire departments of the various fire departments have. So go ahead.
Yes. Mr. President, members of council, the county commissioners are requesting $12,500 in ARPA funding for the following county fire districts: Riley, Pearson, Sealyville/Nevins, Prairieton/Prairie Creek. Those four are now, they're one. Sealyville and Nevins, Sealyville is taking over Nevins, Prairieton and Prairie Creek are together. The others are Honey Creek, Otter Creek, Sugar Creek, New Goshen, and Shepherdsville, for a total request of $112,500. As you all know, our county fire departments are extremely important to the public safety of the citizens of Vigo County. The pandemic was hard on our local departments, and they continue to feel the effects today with higher equipment and supply costs. Many departments rely on fish fries and other fundraisers to fill in funding gaps. This will help fill those gaps while also showing our appreciation and commitment to these first responders and all they do for our community.
Yeah. As you know, there's a broad range of the services and things that these departments provide. This is an equal distribution of these funds. I would like to state that this council has done quite a bit for relief funds, starting with the digital signs when we first got some money for COVID relief, and then the health department with monies that they got for COVID relief for $380,000 worth of Stryker CPR units for all these units. And this will finish up disbursement of money for those kinds of things, and in a nice fashion, I think.
Any questions? Yes.
So are Sealyville and Nevins combined just for the purposes of this request, or are they together?
Yeah, so for those that don't know, Nevins Township has been a struggle, to say the least, for the last couple of years. And they basically had no fire protection, so Sealyville has taken over that. So that's why they are combined. And just, I guess I don't know if you all know this, but recently John Hanley was caucused in as the new trustee for Nevins Township, and I believe he has hit the ground running and getting books in order and things like that, and filing all the paperwork he needed to. So expect them, to be in good shape. But Sealyville will still continue to service Nevins Township.
Are there any restrictions for these funds?
We did not ask for any restrictions. I mean, they all have various needs that they use. I mean, for instance, like, Shepherdsville, they've already made a request in the past for radios. This may go help them with radios, and others may need something different. So we did not put restrictions on these, no.
Okay. And just one last thing. I would submit that if this goes through and there's an opportunity for any additional ARPA funds, to maybe consider throwing it to this group as well. I know they have a lot of needs, as you stated, Mark, and they really don't come and ask us for much historically. So,
Yeah.
I mean, if we could do that to help them out, I think they would be very happy with that.
I would agree with that, and there may be a chance that we have some additional funds. This is kind of what we had left. I mean, well, with other things that we were talking about too.
Sure. Thank you.
Any other questions? This is a great idea that came out of the subcommittee, that we worked together to try to benefit these first responders, and so I think this could be. Now, with that being said, is when you talk about restrictions, there's still always restrictions what they can use the money for if it's been granted as an ARPA. I want to make sure everybody realizes that, and then that's part of the auditor's burden that falls on them as well. So.
Correct.
Okay. If no other questions, well, appreciate you coming.
Thanks.
Next item is salary ordinance 2024-68A, public defender, add a PT high-level felony position.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. President and members of the County Council. I am here.
Page 74, I'm sorry.
74. I'm here today, or this evening, to request the position of a part-time, higher-level felony public defender position. I have anticipated for the last 3 years, and I have mentioned during budget hearings that I've felt that we were going to have at some point in 2024 a position. Back 4 years ago, the American Bar Association had partnered with the Indiana Public Defender Commission to review outdated weights to higher level felony cases. And they wanted to implement those in January 1st of 2022, but we as chiefs had asked for a 2-year extension to work with our county councils to try to get a gauge of what we would need as far as coming into compliance once the weights were effective. Of course, I didn't anticipate, as the prosecutors had mentioned in last month in hearings, that the higher level of cases that are being filed and the number, the pure quantity. We have requested at budget hearings for full-time positions, not a part-time position, and the last couple of years and advised that we will need to be requested definitely in 2024 as far as the case levels to continue to increase. One of the things that has helped us stay in compliance, that is unfortunately we have had 3 people resign this year. When people resign from our office, they inherit all the cases that are still open from the previous public defender, but they started at 0 FTE weight. And even with that, we still have individuals that one person that started less than a year ago is at 95%. The persons we've had start this year are already at 50% in addition to the caseload that they're handling that are still open from the commission appointments. The commission expects the case to close within the year, less than a year, in 9 months. So those cases drop off their numbers. If they don't close, they don't get credit for them, they drop off their FTE. So when you have the higher level felony cases, those continue to mount up and the FTE doesn't reflect necessarily what the cases are that pending. This position would start with a 0 FTE, and the goal of this would also to contact the other public defenders with the higher level felonies that could spread some of the cases out to that individual to help move some of the cases that have been dropped off their FTE. And this again, since it is part of a high level felony, but we'd be reimbursed at the 40% rate for the salary back in the quarterly reports. Does anyone have any questions regarding that position?
Do you have an expected, if we approve this, when you would be wanting to hire this person immediately? Is that?
That would be the anticipation that it would be hired immediately. And so that's why we are not waiting until the budget
Yes.
year.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that with everybody.
Yes.
Any other questions?
Was that 40% reimbursement from the state?
That's correct. And it would
Okay.
include the 40% for the benefits and the perf.
And that's
as well.
because it's a higher level?
It's a higher level. And almost all of them are 40% now as far as the county courts. And the city courts are different. And the city court is not, misdemeanors are not reimbursable, but the legislature just passed a pilot program for 12 counties that if you apply for this, that you will be chosen and you'll get those reimbursed. And I've already been in contact with the commission to say that we would be interested in applying for that. There's certain rules you have to follow, which I'd have to discuss with the judges, a plan that they're implementing that they're going to roll out in June for the application. So we would be hoping that those would also be reimbursed, and that since Bob Heaton and John Ford were instrumental in, as I had requested that they introduce legislation a few years ago for the reimbursement, and that's what got the momentum started. I think we're in a good spot to be one of the counties chosen since our county has supported that from the beginning.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
All right. Thank you very much.
Not, thank you. Last item we have is salary ordinance 2024-69 courts, amend salary, staff salaries. Page 75.
Good evening, Sarah Mulliken, Circuit Court.
Yes.
We're here tonight to talk about the salaries for the courts and the court reporters. But before I start, I want to introduce some people. Judge Johnson is here, and some of the other judges, Judge Reddy, Judge Kelly, Judge Lewis, and Judge Newton. And I'm going to ask Judge Johnson to talk about how we arrived at our proposal.
Charles Johnson, Vigo County Superior Court Division 1. I'd first off like to thank you all for having us here today. The way we arrived at the proposal is after discussion with all the judges that we felt that our staff was undervalued by the Baker-Tilly report in comparison to other departments. The judges and the court staff had discussions concerning the appropriate grade and responsibility concerning their roles. We wanted to recognize staff that provided extra work and took on extra responsibilities through their court reporting responsibilities as well. Each judge reviewed their own staff, made those recommendations, and that was included in the proposal. I would just like to state over the last 2 years, the Vigo County courts have been ranked Supreme Court severity of need met first greatest need in 2022 and the third greatest need in 2023. On average, each court in Vigo County is doing the work of a full court as well as an additional fourth of a court under this measurement. There's no guarantee that additional court will continue with the workload in the future, and there's not any requests at this time for any additional staff. I did also want to note that all the staff in this request here. Majority of the staff has worked in the courts. As the newest judge on the bench, I've greatly benefited from my experience and skilled staff. They have a lot to learn the position, keep the court running smoothly, as well as take on additional problem-solving court in my personal court. I personally see my staff assist the clerk's office, the public defender's office, the prosecutor's office, as well as the jail in completing their duties. Additionally, my staff has helped with other court staff, as well as the other court staff has helped my staff in making sure that we all work efficiently and effectively in administrating the legal system. As a judge, I do an elected position. There is no guarantee that I'll remain in this role past my term. In order to maintain the faith in our institutions and preserve the important continuity in our justice system, it is essential that our courts have extremely skilled, loyal, and talented staff. Failure to do so would result in the knowledge that they have retained, as well as add extra burden to already stressed justice system at this time. As Judge Mulliken will state, and I'm going to have Bridget Kelsheimer, who is one of my court reporter staff, state that we do believe these requests are appropriate and reasonable to fully compensate our staff, and we would request at a later date to grant these requests. I would do have Bridget here, and she wanted to give a statement as well as have some notes for the council.
I began my legal career as a legal secretary for Federal Magistrate Jordan Lewis, which is Judge Lewis's father. I trained under him as legal secretary and to the courts as a clerk. Upon becoming a clerk, I was trained a short time and then put into a court. Once I was put into Division III back in 1995, Tracy Richards behind me trained me to be a better court employee, which is usually the task of the court reporters. You are a guiding force with the staff, the clerks, lawyers, other offices. We constantly collaborate with everyone to make sure that the process is followed according to legal procedures. We don't usually, when people become a court reporter, people don't usually leave that job to go do anything else. That is the pinnacle of the legal support staff career, is to work your way through being a clerk, being a bailiff, and then you finally become a court reporter, and then that is where your skill and your knowledge and your ability is highlighted and used to full capacity. So people don't leave that job to go do a legal secretary or go do another position. We stay in that position for the entirety of our career. We train incoming staff. We used to have a roving court reporter that was able to train the staff. Due to issues with, the caseload through juvenile court and things like that, our rover is now used to supplement juvenile court, which is understandable. But then that creates an issue with court reporters now having to cover, I'm a criminal court reporter, but I also have to cover civil and criminal constantly due to vacation and sick time and things like that. We also are called upon to train incoming staff on all court procedures. With the clerks, when the clerks are hired in, normally that is an entry-level position, and so then that clerk is trained through the main office, through the clerk's office, and then some of those clerks come up to the courts. When they come to the courts, they don't have the legal background typically to be able to operate in the court. So that's the court staff, the court reporters, and then they train that clerk and other staff so that the court operates at an optimum level. We aren't usually, when a new judge, such as Judge Johnson, comes in, we are dependent on to make sure that everything keeps flowing, that there's we can't afford to have gaps in any of our abilities in the court. We've been asked over time to take on responsibility with problem courts and a heck of a docket, but we've been given additional compensation for specific tasks. We don't leave at 4 o'clock. We are not somebody that clocks in and clocks out. We stay for hearings. We stay for jury trials, for deliberations. We've been in the court offices until 10 o'clock at night for jury deliberations, and sometimes later than that. We are tasked to create the record for everything that happens in the courtroom. We have to know legal jargon. We have to know the process of the law, all the requirements through the judicial system. We're called upon to know those rules and requirements and to use them on a daily basis. We are required to prepare transcripts for the Indiana Court of Appeals. That is a whole separate issue where we have to have continued training. We use our personal time to do that task, and we are now, because our deadline, and you'll see in my notes, that it was cut in half back in 2016. So we went from a 90-day turnaround on a transcript to a 45-day turnaround. So that then cut into our time that we would have to do these transcripts. We were only raised 25% on the pay, but double the amount of work. So we are now using our vacation time, personal time, things like that to work on our transcripts. We just to wrap it up, because I don't want to take up a lot of your time, the skill set that we are required to have is different from just an entry-level position. We don't do general secretarial work. We are called upon to have a very specific set of skills, and I've highlighted those skills in here. We're always apt to use professionalism, to respect people's right to privacy, not only by the law, but just their personal privacy. And, you know, we conduct ourselves in a professional decorum in the courtroom, and we're asked to sit through long hearings and to remain professional and to create a good record. And that record is dependent on for generations to come. Exhibits that we take in, evidence that we take in, we could be called upon, as court reporters have been in the past, to answer for those exhibits anytime in our career or even after retirement. So we have a lot of responsibility, and we'd just like to make sure that we're compensated accordingly to that. Did you have questions?
Is there, anybody have questions?
I just have a couple questions, and I was able to, whoever wants to answer them. And I was fortunate enough to visit with some of you. I know it's in Judge Johnson and with Judge Mellican, and I have plans to do that again this summer because I love court stuff anyways. But when you do, because I have been on the jury side of it, when you do have some of those late trials, are there, like, is there a compensation of hours, or do you, like, let's say you go late on a Thursday, or have a couple really long, I know there's been some really rough trials this year. Is there any kind of compensation time, or do you build up things like that at all?
We accumulate comp time.
Okay.
And then that comp time is used whenever possible. But as I said about the rover, we don't have lots of time that we can use our comp time in there, but that's how we earn.
Okay. I guess that's my question, is how difficult is it for you to use comp time then?
Well, you know, we had a trial that we went till 2:30 in the morning. The jury deliberated, and we were back in the office at 8:30. And sometimes comp time just isn't available to use. Because the next day, maybe a Thursday, and we're there all day with heavy criminal cases in our chins and our family recovery court.
Okay. And then, so I understand too, like, I understand with the transcripts, that's just done on personal time. Are you not compensated for that, or is that kind of how does?
It's done on our personal time. We don't have the flow of transcripts that.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. We don't have the flow that we used to have. 10 years ago, whenever I was doing transcripts, we had more cases that went to jury trial. Plea agreements are resolving cases more than they were previously. And so that was an added income that you couldn't budget, but you knew it would probably be there. Now, that's diminished. I don't make hardly anything. I don't even make a quarter of what I did 10 years ago for transcript pay. And there are some court reporters that they do have an influx of it. The majority of the court reporters do
It just
not.
depends which
Right,
courts
but
or-
that's done on my personal time, and I'm compensated. Like I said, the deadline used to be 90 days, where the Court of Appeals, you had to turn around your transcript in 90 days. That was cut down to 45 days. And then we were given an extra $1 on the page, so that equated to 25% of an increase.
And the other question probably is more for whoever put the spreadsheet together. In looking at some of the positions, like I know the rover sounds very valuable because it kind of goes through different position stuff. There were some court reporter positions that had like a slash with it, or, you know, slash bail. Let me pull it out here. That had like court reporter slash bailiff, and then others that were straight up court reporter, but some were 11s and 12s. Is there a difference between like the proposed grades on some of those, like the?
Well,
I
as
guess
far as
I guess
the-
when I look at it, you know, what are the differences between those? Or is those based on the position or the person? Because that's kind of where I want to make sure we do this right.
Sure. Well, the ones on our 9 are generally the bailiff positions, and those are the ones that handle mostly bailiff responsibilities. The 11s or 12s, each judge has had a chance to review the staff that we have, and the 12 were the staff that we feel like have the extra responsibilities, including doing transcripts as described and those sort of things, and helping our office. And the 11 was just a court report that had some of the main duties, but wouldn't take on the extra responsibilities that would help, you know, the extra pay bump. As far as the court reporter slash bailiffs, those are the individuals that are doing the bailiff responsibility as well as handling court reporter responsibilities. In my court, my bailiff is also a court reporter. She handles all of our problem-solving courts cases, so she's in there when we staff, when we do hold the court. She drafts the orders for review, make sure they're all uploaded, deals with transferring in the cases and those sort of things, with addition on top of the bailiff responsibilities that go with that.
Okay.
And I think one of the things that, the thought, I think, behind the proposal was that all of the court staff would be trained as court reporters, which makes it a little more efficient.
Okay. Well, and that's kind of from what we had talked about before, just because that way if you have, you know, upticks in different courts or whatever. So I guess that's kind of why I was trying to look, because like when I look at like roving court reporter, and maybe it's because they don't have, you know, that extra duty, I would think that was someone that, and again, I'm not in the court, so I don't know, that's flexible, and they're at 11 and others are at 12. So that's kind of why I was just wanting to make sure, like, that we're doing this based on the position, not so much based on the personnel that's there.
Bridget wants to say something.
I could speak to that. I think that one of the differences is that a rover will never be called upon to do transcripts. They aren't
Okay.
required to have that additional training.
So the 12s are doing transcripts, is that?
Yes.
Okay.
Judge Reddy would like to say something.
Okay.
Hi, Lakshmi Reddy, or Lucky, in Division 2. So I can explain, so I've got 2 court reporters that I think I've designated as a 12. And the reason I've designated as a 12 is because I sort of delineate different responsibilities above and beyond just what a base court reporter is going to do. So for example, one court reporter is responsible for keeping track of all of our data. It's not something that normally courts do. So we make a lot of referrals. So she keeps track of, well, who have referred for supervised parent time and how much are we paying for that? How about anger management? Who got referred? How many cases? How much are we spending? So there's all this data that she keeps track of. She also does all of the invoices for all our special projects. So that's sort of above and beyond what one court reporter would do. My other court reporter handles all of the referrals. So it's a lot of extra paperwork. That's not what a normal court reporter would do. So I think there's other responsibilities beyond just the transcript. So Judge Mulliken has a problem-solving court. Well, those court reporters are doing above and beyond. There's no extra compensation. So I think that's an example of what's done.
So if someone like were to leave that position, like whoever you have in there now, are they doing that because they're so good at what they do, or is the new person going to come in and do the same types of things, like the data collection and?
You mean if one of my court reporters left, I'd be at a total loss.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't. I say
I don't
that
want to bring
because-
bad luck or anything.
No, because I have to do all of this reporting to the Supreme
Right.
Court, and before I had the current one, I was doing it myself, and I always did it wrong, and they would send it back to me and say, redo it. I'm like, I'm not a spreadsheet person. And so she's come over and she's taking care of that, and gosh, I would be at a big loss if she left and couldn't do that. They just know how to do all these spreadsheets, so, you know, if I call them and say, hey, I need to know how many people are getting supervised parenting time and how much money did we spend, she can pull it up for me. I would never be able to keep track of that, but that's beyond what a normal court reporter would do. And I think that's true of all of the courts. They've got special duties, so it's not just that they're doing transcripts. And I think that's a whole nother issue is, yes, they get compensated, but I can tell you, it's not worth the money for the amount of time they spend on it and losing personal time, in my personal opinion. They might, but I don't think it's worth the amount that they get paid.
Well, the other thing is that, you know, when they're doing transcripts, they're subject to the very, very complex court rule that, I mean, I think it takes a great deal of skill.
I had the opportunity to sit in on some of the courts and meet some of the court reporters, and very impressed with the professionalism. And I learned quite a bit while sitting there. I'm fortunate I didn't have to go to court to defend myself. And I see and understand this. And we had a really good conversation with Judge Mulliken in December and about this last year. And you know, one of the things that we talked about is, and I wanted to ask to see where we'd progressed on that. Are we any closer on having a court reporter handbook?
Yes, we are. I think we have kind of a fundamental agreement about it.
Okay.
And it just needs to be.
Can you come back to the mic there?
It needs to be put together. I think we have a pretty good agreement about what we want in it, but it's voluminous, and we just have to put it. It'll be done, I think, this summer.
Okay, and you know, that was one of the things that we talked
It was,
about
it was.
because there was a lot of
Sure.
lot of misconceptions about the positions and the compensation for them, and so I do see that, and I too wondered the same thing when we saw a court reporter, and we don't have anything other than they all were making 9s as court reporters. Some of them were proposed to go to 11, some proposed to 12, and so that's helped with your explanation there.
I think one more court reporter
Okay.
would like to say something.
Okay.
I just have a couple of things. My name is Tracy Richards. I'm Judge Mulliken's court reporter. If I survive till the end of this year, I will have been there 40 years.
Oh, wow.
Given the time that I've been there, I get calls frequently from different offices, attorneys, you know, the clerk's office, PD office. What should I do? And so I think that the judge relies on us. I think a lot of other people do too. And I think there's a lot of responsibility with that. I'd like to add on the transcripts. It used to be, I love to do transcripts because I could just type out the transcript. Now they have very technical rules about them. They want all the transcripts to be precisely the same. We're doing more work on them. We used to, didn't have to do headers and footers and the table of contents, which that's been done. We now have to do exhibit volumes differently. We have to have second volumes for confidential exhibits. It's just a real time-consuming project. And, you know, we all have our family lives, and we like to be able to go home and spend time with our families. But this is part of our job. Although we our own time, we're required to do it. People's lives depend on it. And so, you know, we deal with points in their lives a lot of times. And we still try to treat them with respect and compassion and you know, give them the best service that we can. And so I'd like to thank you all for your consideration. We really do appreciate it. We would like to feel recognized for the job that we do.
Thank you for all your time there.
You know, one of the things I was going to say is that, you know, we were at the hearing last week with Judge Magna Stinson, and I think she was very complimentary of the county and all of the programs that we've started with the health department, with the public defender's office, and the case managers, and Mr. Mackey. And I think, you know, all those programs put a burden on the courts. We've also have plans to start an adult mental health, a certified adult mental health court next year, which I think is really necessary. We know mental health is a big issue, substance abuse, and trauma. My court is going through a trauma-informed treatment training, all to address the underlying needs of our constituents. So all that places a burden on the courts, on all of the criminal justice system, but I think it's something that we can be proud of, the things that we've done.
and I swear this is the last one, but I just, like I said, if we're looking at stuff, I want to make sure, I'm always about, let's just do it right. You know, I know the differences, you know, there's obviously the different courts, and then I want to make sure that, are we looking at things, I mean, are the positions equitable across the courts as far as we rank them and things? We've got, you know, Division 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but then we've got juvenile, and then 6 and A. I guess in looking at like the 11s and 12s, is there consistency with that? I'm just trying to make sure that,
I think
that
so.
we treat
I think so.
people
The
the
11s are,
same.
you know, highly trained, highly skilled court reporters with extra responsibility.
Okay, and again, I know it's hard to look at this without like the people. I mean, obviously she has an incredible amount of skill and knowledge that can never be replaced, but you know, I just want to make sure that we're looking at the positioning, because not everyone's going to stay as long as that.
Don't say that.
I know, I'm trying not to, but, and then that's, you know, that kind of leads to, I think most of your staff has been pretty loyal, luckily, to staying with you guys because they like what they do, so.
Yes.
Well, I think just on a note too, if a 12 were to leave, I don't think we'd necessarily request that they be hired back as a 12, depending on the new position. So it would likely be it started at 11 if it's a court reporter. So it wouldn't necessarily keep the 12 at, because then there would be additional responsibility. So it's not necessarily forcing that position to stay at that salary and that level necessarily. But if, you know, they were to leave, but, you know, with the staff that we have currently, that's why we're making the request that we have.
All right, thanks.
Are
You know,
we-
I'm always full of questions.
Well, we appreciate it.
I know I should have been a lawyer.
Go ahead.
Are we looking at the possibility of a magistrate to help with juvenile court?
Well, you know, the resolution came from the council, and we appreciate that greatly. And so we're going to ask for an additional court. And one of the other things we're asking for is to change the jurisdiction of the juvenile magistrate to a jurisdiction of a general magistrate who could address other things besides Chin's cases and TPR, could address the jail issues.
What would that entail in terms of staffing that court?
Well, I mean, there's already staff at the juvenile center. Judge
For a
Kelly.
magistrate, I mean, if we...
You mean for an additional court?
Additional court.
I just submitted a request or information to Mr. Wright about our proposed budget for an additional court.
Councilperson Wager, the total estimated cost for the 7th court, and this includes the county portion of the judge, 2 court reporters, perf, insurance, transcript, office supplies, office furniture, copier, printer, systems hardware, total estimated cost $247,158.
No bailiff?
There's
There were
not.
2 court reporters that act as
Okay.
using those
Just
skills.
verify.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay.
Now, does that include like benefits and so forth?
Yes,
Perf? Okay.
yes, it has perf and insurance. I mean, these are costs that the court put together for the council's benefit, so I mean,
That's rough figures.
And the judge is paid by the state except for the $5,000
Right,
stipend.
right,
And
okay.
as well as the judge's benefits.
Where would we put it?
Well, we're thinking Title 4D in that courtroom temporarily.
We have courtrooms at the jail. We could use one down there.
Sure.
But no staff,
No
no place for
jury.
the staff, put them
Oh,
in
I
a
just-
cell.
We have courtrooms there. I just didn't know what the logistics were. Yes.
I just have one question for the judge on this budget. For the amount that you have for the court reporters, what grade are you budgeting?
I believe they were submitted as 11.
Which one?
Yeah, but that's not an 11 based on what?
I think it's 12.
Oh, 12, okay.
Okay.
And that does include like courtroom reporting equipment and microphone.
Wow.
Yeah, everything that I could think of that we would need.
But that's not the salary that you're proposing for the 12s now. So you're just using the current, Okay.
Thank you for that. Thanks.
Yes, thank you.
So that's the current rate is
Yes.
basically, and by looking at it.
Looks like the current. 25.
This says 46,269, and that's not what a 12 is. That's why I was just wondering. What's the figure, 269.
Or maybe be an 11 next.
Well, I mean, at 12 this year.
Well, that's also a rough estimate, and there's no guarantee.
Yeah,
that
just a
we're
rough,
getting
I just a rough idea is what I
We
was
haven't got-
thinking.
That's 54,978.66.
And it was a rough estimate that I wanted to give the council so that you might be aware of any possible
Yeah.
costs.
Okay.
I just was making, that's what a current one is at a 9. That's not what a 12 is. If they would give this increase, are you gonna give the same?
Yes.
Court reporters?
But we don't even know if we'll get the court, because that's next
That's what
year.
I'm
They'll be
saying.
voting on it next year.
That's what I was trying to say, that.
But I wanted the council to be aware of the possible costs if, because you graciously gave us that resolution.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
So, you know, I think that the challenge that we're faced with here is, we're talking of 31 employees here, what you've proposed here increases, because 2 of them on here don't have increases.
That's right.
So what we're looking at is we're dealing with the, Baker Tilly, we just deal with 600. And so now we go and we deviate from the Baker Tilly study, and then now we've opened up Pandora's box. So that's just our burden. I'm just sharing with you what we're dealing with. And so, I appreciate you guys putting together this information, and so this is a non-voting meeting. We will address this next week. And hopefully at least a representative will be here next week if we have any additional questions.
Well, we thank you very much for allowing us to be here.
Thanks a lot. Thank you, thank you.
With that being, I think that's on the agenda items. That is the last one on that. So the next one is, number 8, is we have public comment. Would anybody like to speak on public comment?
Where's our little guy?
Okay, no public comment. Take a motion to adjourn. Motion by Councilperson Norris. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilperson Wager. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Meeting adjourned. I told you, Michael, about
Spot on. I took the over. I'd be a loser. I'd be a loser.